Am I the asshole for not helping my boyfriend's family with home improvement tasks after he voluntold me? Original post. I am 25 female and my boyfriend is 26 male. He had a mother and 3 sisters. Their father died when they all were pretty young, and honestly, none of them have really learned how to be independent. My dad raised me to be pretty independent. He told me to never depend on a man, and I don't. My dad owned a construction company, and he was one of the most talented woodworkers I've ever met. He taught me how to do a lot. I can work on cars within reason, cook, build furniture, lay tile, and do most home improvement type stuff. And honestly, if I don't know how to do something, I'm pretty good at YouTubing it and asking whoever I need to for pointers. My boyfriend and I live in a house that I solely own. I have made the house into what my boyfriend and I need. We are getting ready to get married and maybe adopt a few children. His sisters are all kind of helpless, and I admittedly don't really like any of them. His oldest sister has been dating this slimy guy, and they have 4 kids together. He binge drinks a lot and doesn't really do anything. He gets a disability check from pretending to be schizophrenic. Their trailer is falling apart and their water isn't coming on. She cried to my boyfriend and asked him to get me to come get their water working again and fix some stuff. She said she can't afford to pay anyone. He said sure, and casually told me. I told him no. Definitely don't want to go do that in my free time. He's upset because he doesn't want to go back on his word to his sister. I suggested one of them can figure it out, or he can pay someone to do it. We have separate finances. His other sister started redoing her kitchen last month. She thought it would be easy. Halfway through gutting everything, she realized that she was in way over her head. Her boyfriend also broke up with her and she had no one to help. He was the one mainly directing things. She asked my boyfriend to ask me to come help. He told her I would. I said no. Same problem. We are having a fight right now. He thinks that I am not being a team player for his family. I told him that I don't ask his family for anything ever, and it's not my fault that they choose to put themselves in bad spots and expect to be bailed out. It would be reasonable if they were sick and I brought them a meal, or if we watched the kids while someone was in the hospital. Normal family stuff, but I don't think wanting me to go do real labor and spend my entire weekend on projects because of their fuck-ups is reasonable. At the end, I told him if he isn't okay with this boundary I'm setting, then we have no business getting married. And the ball is in his court. He had apologized and let it go, but I can still tell that he's fuming. Am I the asshole? Comments OP replies before reading the update. OP shouldn't commit to someone's project if others are trying to take advantages of her. OP, I learned the hard way in my early 20s to never commit to someone else's project. I might surprise someone and show up to help, but I don't want it expected of me. Too many times I burnt myself out helping someone because I had committed myself to it. Commenter 1, not the asshole, but I think a deeper convo here would help. Tell him that this isn't the way to get help on something. The right thing for him to have done in both situations is to say, yes, I see you have some challenges. Let me talk to my fiancés and see if she has any suggestions. That's a soft way of saying maybe. Reality of it is, neither one of you should be volunteering one another without talking to each other first, privately, not on the spot. You use your boyfriend quite a bit in your post. Given you bring so much to the table, wealth and skill, you need to think about a prenup. OOP, yes, we do have a prenup. I have premarital assist and an inheritance. My earning potential is also higher. He makes decent money though. Ultimately, he was fine with a prenup and we already got it sorted out with 2 layers. We have separate finances. Commenter 2 maybe agreed to a compromise. He can promise his family services, but only those he could do by himself. You want to tag along, cool, but everything else he has to check with you first. Is he aware how much time he just casually gifts his family if he commits to projects? The first one was troubleshooting, which can take hours. To rescue a sunken dye kitchen project, days. Is he aware how much he asks from you? Plus, he doesn't even do this basic little act. OOP, to be honest, I think he should just pay someone to go and fix both problems. He can afford to do so, and he could just make it their early Christmas present. But he didn't like this idea, so he's going to try to fix his sister's water this weekend. He's going to realize the hard way that there's a reason I don't want to do these things. Ultimately, I think it will be good for him to learn this lesson firsthand. Now, for the update. You asked for an update, and you got one. If you have read my last post, you'll know that I refused to help my boyfriend's family with their home repairs renovations. My boyfriend was moderately unhappy. His take was, if we're going to get married one day, his family will become my family, and we should all do our best to help each other. We had a frank conversation. I explained that I feel like his sisters are kind of needy and expect help. Meanwhile, they never offer any help, nor do they have any real useful skills that I'd need them for, to be honest. I made it clear that he's welcome to use his time, effort, and money to help them as he pleases, but to leave me out of it going forward. He agreed. Today, he went over there to try to help his sister fix her plumbing in their trailer. He went over there and they spent 6 hours trying to fix it. It ended with a broken pipe and sewage and water flooding underneath badly. He called an emergency plumber, who said that pretty much all the plumbing in the trailer needs to be redone because it's so old. He quoted them $6,000 to fix it all. When the plumber left, he and his sister ended up getting in a screaming match in front of the kids. She insisted that if I came last week, things wouldn't have gotten so bad, which doesn't even make sense, honestly. but she's a moron. She insisted that he and I come fix it all for free. He told her off for always being a burden on everyone and making her problems everyone else's. She got super offended and told him to leave since he thinks he's so much better than her and her kids. The kids were all crying and it was a mess. Both sister-in-laws have been blowing up his phone and my phone. We've ignored them. He cried. He's just been exhausted. He opened up that he feels bad because he promised his dad when he was a kid, right before his dad died, that he would take care of everything. Personally, I don't think it was fair of his dad to make a 6-year-old boy make that kind of promise. It's put so much weight on his shoulders over the years. My boyfriend has stated that it's time to let them all sink or swim with everything. He's just so tired. We're going to take a break from talking to all of them. If when we get involved with them, there will be crystal clear boundaries. He has agreed on this. So yeah, that's all I've got for right now. Not sure if it's a happy ending, but that's just where we are in life. For those of you who suggested that I leave my boyfriend, I hope you don't end your relationships over every minor disagreement, because that will lead to a lonely life. He's not going to put his sisters first for the rest of his life, but things are complicated. I'm willing to stand by him while we deal with things. Comments OP replies. Does the boyfriend's mother and sisters have any life skills or knowledge? OOP, no, they do not. They all work entry-level jobs for little to no money and have no education or skills. He's doing a lot better for himself and they just drag him down. OOP's boyfriend needs to set boundaries on his mother and sisters. OOP, he's been slowly learning to set boundaries. It's not an overnight thing. He's made a lot of progress since I first met him. I'm not perfect either. What skills have OOP done so far for herself or a loved one? OOP, I have been blessed enough to never need a plumber. I've replaced sinks and toilets and done some easier plumbing work. But when it comes down to it, I would rather just call a professional rather than risk getting covered in shit. Let's hope I didn't jinx myself, because calling around for quotes is not something I want to do in my free time. Story 2. Am I the asshole for wanting to give up my son after discovering he isn't mine? Original post. The situation is nothing short of a cluster F. I'm angry, depressed, and sad, and I don't know what to do. Throwaway. I, 32 male, am shattered and don't know where to turn. My wife passed away last month, only 7 months after giving birth to our son. She developed peripartum cardiomyopathy, a rare and severe form of heart failure that can occur in the months following childbirth. Despite the doctor's best efforts, she didn't survive. Losing her so suddenly has left me heartbroken and in a state of constant grief. 3 weeks ago, my wife's best friend came over to visit. She was visibly nervous and eventually told me she had something sensitive to share. After some hesitation, she revealed that my wife had confided in her that she'd been unfaithful around the time our son was conceived and that there was a chance he might not be mine. I was stunned and angry. My wife's best friend was telling me this only weeks after my wife's death, and it felt like an attempt to tarnish her memory. I couldn't believe it. I told her to leave and not to come back, convinced she was lying or trying to shift blame onto me somehow. The whole thing felt like a betrayal, and I tried to push the thought out of my mind. But once the idea was planted, it wouldn't go away. I kept wondering, what if she was telling the truth? After days of tormenting myself with this possibility, I decided to get a DNA test. It wasn't an easy decision. I felt guilty for even considering it, but I needed closure. Yesterday, the results came back. My worst fears were confirmed. My son isn't biologically mine. Now, I'm in turmoil. I loved my wife, and I wanted to believe our son was a piece of her and me together. But knowing he's not biologically mine has left me feeling lost and betrayed. I keep looking at him, trying to feel the same bond, but the pain of my wife's infidelity is so fresh, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to move past it. I feel awful even considering it, but I don't know if I can raise him on my own. The betrayal I feel is overwhelming, and I don't know if I'm capable of giving him the love and care he deserves. It's breaking my heart, and I feel like a failure, but I also feel like I'm not equipped to give him the life he deserves. Am I the asshole? Edit 1, I hadn't thought of contacting the friend, but I will now. The replies have really solidified what I have been feeling. The child is innocent, but I don't think I'd be able to love or care for him as well as I should. Informing the family will be my first step, then contacting the AP if possible. Adoption is going to be my last resort. Many of you may believe I'm a monster, but put yourself in my situation. I hope you all understand. Edit 2, so I called her friend. I apologized for my behavior, but also asked why she did not inform me as soon as she knew. She said her loyalties lay with her friend more than me. Okay, fine. I asked her about the AP. She said she doesn't know, as it was a one-time thing. Apparently, it happened during her work time, whatever that meant, and during daytime as she'd been told. I mean, I'm not fully understanding, but it seems like she was with a guy when she was supposed to be working. Many of you are suggesting I go through her phone or other social contacts, but I don't know any passwords, and never doubted her. We weren't controlling of each other and had and gave plenty of privacy. The next step is informing the family, both mine and hers. I'm adding another thing. I don't hate the baby, and I'm not so deranged I'd throw him out of the house. Whatever happens, happens according to procedure. I'm not going to instantly abandon a kid just because he isn't mine. Comments OP replies before reading the update. Commenter 1, not the asshole. I'm sorry this has happened. Unfortunately, now he is a reminder of betrayal and a reminder that your life with your wife was a lie. It might be best to put him up for adoption or let your wife's family take him. You will never have the bond with him that you would have had if this truth had not been uncovered. OOP, I haven't told anyone yet about the test. However, I think it'd be best if I do so immediately. Commenter 2, it could open a can of worms, but the actual father has a right to know. If you can't get into your wife's phone or laptop, go to her place of work and see if anyone else knows about this supposedly one-night thing. It could have been a full-blown affair. The actual father has the right to know he has a child, and if he wants the baby, he has every right to him. The wife's parents will probably fight him on this as well, and would most likely want the baby. He was their daughter's child, and if they want to raise him, that is their right as well. OOP, there is no concrete evidence of who the father is, and the complete lack of interest from the friend to tell more about it only complicates things more. I don't think I'm going to go into her former workplace and start inquiring about who she was sleeping around with. The best course, at least I think, would be to inform my in-laws. They're good people, and I hope they take him in. Commenter 3, not the asshole. It's not the child's fault. You should tell your wife's family so they can take him. I worry if you raise him, you'll always resent him. I'm so sorry for your loss and your wife's betrayal. Please get therapy so you can heal. Best of luck, OP. Now for the updates. Update 1. Thanks to everyone who reached out with advice and support. I didn't get to respond to every message, but I really appreciate it. After finding out my son isn't biologically mine, I decided to tell both my family and my in-laws. My family was shocked and angry about everything, but they stood by me. My in-laws were also shocked, but didn't believe it at first. They asked to see the DNA test results, and after seeing them, they suggested we do a second test with both families present, just to be sure. They said that if it confirmed he isn't mine, my late wife's sister, who has a 4-year-old daughter, would adopt him, and I could take my name off the birth certificate if I wanted. I agreed, and we did the test yesterday. Results should come in about a week. Honestly, I'm relieved with how things are playing out. There hasn't been any drama, and everyone's been understanding. I've also talked to a lawyer who said getting my name off the certificate should be straightforward with the test result. Thank you all again for the support, and for those who offered to adopt him, I'm sorry, but your kindness means a lot. I'll update when the final results are in. Also, English isn't my first language, so I used GPT to help with formatting and phrasing. Comments OP replies. Commenter 1, not the asshole. This is heartbreaking knowing the last living piece of your wife's memory is now just a reminder of her betrayal. Commenter 2, this whole situation sounds so tough, but it's great to see everyone being so supportive and understanding. Family stepping up like this shows a lot of love. Honestly, hope everything goes smoothly with the next steps. Commenter 3, my goodness, OP. After this horrible ordeal, I truly hope you can find peace. Best wishes. Final update, November 16th, 2024, 9 days later. Baby's gone. The results came back 2 days ago. As expected, I'm still not the father. By the time the results came in, I had already packed up most of the baby's things. My mom was staying with me, helping take care of the baby and keeping me sane through all of this. This morning, my late wife's parents, sister, and brother-in-law came to pick him up. The handover was smooth except for a snarky comment from my wife's sister. She said I seemed too eager to let the baby go. Yet I didn't respond. There was no point, but it stung. Despite that, my in-laws, her parents, were supportive throughout and told me going no contact would be best for everyone involved. I agreed it's painful, but I think it's the right choice. I hugged them goodbye and they left. They're good people and I'll miss them. Now, the house feels empty. My mom went back home today, but will return tomorrow to stay for about a week until things settle. Honestly, I feel relieved. Call me what you want, but I'm finally breathing again. This whole ordeal has been exhausting, but knowing I can start fresh feels like a weight off my shoulders. As for my wife's belongings, I gave her jewelry to my in-laws. They didn't want anything else except for a few trinkets and pictures, so they told me I could sell or donate the rest. I haven't decided what to do with it yet, but I'll figure it out. I didn't respond to comments on my last post because the hate was overwhelming and I was exhausted. My direct messages were flooded with some of the vilest messages imaginable just because I chose not to raise a child that isn't mine and conceived through infidelity. To those who supported me, thank you. Your words helped me make decisions I wasn't confident about before. And to those who criticized me, I appreciate the perspective. Even if I didn't agree, it made me think. For now, I'm taking a break from dating and focusing on myself. Maybe I'll buy a bike and get back into riding or hit the gym again. I just need to move forward. I'll be keeping this account for about a week before I delete it. Thanks again to those who took the time to support or challenge me. It's been a hell of a journey. Comments OP replies. OOP should give some of his late wife's personal things to the baby for his keepsakes. OP, all her solo pictures have been taken by her parents. I've still kept a photo with the kid, me and her. I need to keep something. There aren't many more things which the baby may want in the future. Her parents have taken all of interest. Commenter 1, wishing you healing and peace and a happy future. Hey, Commenter 2, you made the right call for the baby and for yourself. The baby is in the hands of people who can love it the way it deserves to be loved. And because of the circumstances of its conception, that wasn't you. Good luck moving forward. Commenter 3, don't listen to the hate. It's easy to pass judgment on someone else and try to act holier than thou. We have no idea how we'd actually feel if placed in a situation like that. I'm sure the baby will be well taken care of. Take time for yourself and move forward. Story 3. Am I the asshole for reporting my manager and getting him fired after he repeatedly made sexual comments towards me? 27 female, work in marketing for a mid-sized tech company. I've been here for about 3 years, and it's a demanding but rewarding job. I've always felt comfortable with my coworkers until a few months ago when my manager, Dan, 42nd, started acting in ways that made me deeply uncomfortable. It started small. Dan would give me compliments that felt overly personal, like, you've got such a magnetic presence, or you're the reason clients trust us, you're the total package. I brushed it off at first, thinking maybe I was reading too much into it, but the comments kept coming and they got worse. During meetings, he'd make jokes about my appearance, like, we should send you to the client meetings. You'd close any deal with that smile. Everyone would laugh awkwardly, and I'd just sit there feeling exposed. I told him privately that his comments were inappropriate and made me uncomfortable, but he shrugged it off, saying, "Come on, just joking. You need to lighten up." The situation escalated at a work happy hour. Dan had been drinking and was acting even more inappropriate than usual. He cornered me when I was at the bar, leaning in way too close and saying things like, "You're the woman who distracts men," just by walking into a room. I was already planning to leave, but before I could step away, he touched my ass. I was frozen for a second, then just mumbled something and walked away. I went home that night feeling furious and violated, but also unsure of what to do. I spent the weekend thinking about it and finally decided I couldn't stay silent anymore. That Monday, I reported everything to Human Resources. I detailed all the comments, the physical contact, and even provided the names of people who witnessed his behavior. Human Resources took it seriously, and after an investigation, Dan was fired. Since then, my workplace has been tense. Some coworkers have supported me, saying they're glad I stood up for myself. But others, especially those who were close to Dan, have accused me of overreacting. One person even said, "It was just a tap, and now his whole career is ruined. You could have handled it another way." I feel relieved that he's gone and that I don't have to deal with his behavior anymore, but I also feel guilty about the fallout. Dan had a family, and with the holidays coming up, I know this is going to impact them too. So, am I the asshole for reporting him and getting him fired? Comments. Poor Dan. He ruined his whole career because he could not touch someone else or stop sexually harassing them. So sad. Next person who says you should have handled it differently asks exactly what that looks like. How should I have handled it differently? Exactly what would you suggest? Draw me a diagram, not the asshole. Reporting him was my last solution, as I have asked Dan to stop making those jokes and he did not stop, and touching me was the last bit. Well, there is a chance you could have reported him earlier and then Human Resources might have been able to get through to him before he crossed the line. But that is the best case scenario. You did nothing wrong. You can feel sorry for him or more for his family because they are about to have a tough time. But remember, none of this is your fault. People will always blame you, but none of it would have happened without him being an ass. It's all his fault.